brought together voices from across the world in looking at and call for action and voices around accelerating the commitments around NDCs and the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, the SDG agenda, as well as the green and post-COVID recovery plans that many of the countries have embarked on. And as part of this inclusive participatory process, co-led by Kenya, Sweden, UNEP and partners, UNDP had the privilege and the opportunity to help engage and consult across 56 countries with the support of Sweden. And this engagement has been with over 50,000 people, and half of them women, and an approach that was very much around a very inclusive whole of society, whole of government dialogue to look at how we can relate it to the themes of the Stockholm Plus 50 and how does it relate to the national context in each of these countries and communities. I also wanted to say that many of them participated virtually, whether it was through the UNDP Spark Blue platform or the State of the Global, the Planet Global Survey or other virtual platforms as well. And the report that launched today, and it's a very celebratory moment, really captures and is a reflection of all these consultations and messages, but also and it's accompanied contributions that you can also find on the website. And the report, these include 10 key recommendations in how we can collectively accelerate implementation for commitments that have been made for a healthy planet and prosperity for the people. And these also include messages that have come from UNEP-led regional consultations. And these recommendations include things around partnerships, stronger partnerships and means of implementation. They include environmental governance and scaling up in terms of participation and trust and decision making across various groups. A call for scaling up environmental finance across diverse sources. Private sector engagement and private sector finance is critical for action and scale up. And a gender equal, just, inclusive economic transformation that can accelerate development across all sectors. There's also focus on as global transition as an opportunity for green jobs and digital and green technologies as accelerators for sustainable development. Focus on youth as agents of change and not just beneficiaries. And related to that, access to information and climate and environmental education that can really facilitate innovation and access towards action. And finally, the countries are very keen on follow-up, bold, transformative action on all the voices we've heard and the outcomes of these in a manner that's using fair and effective multilateralism. I'm also very proud to see that the Stockholm Plus 50 process has left a legacy of multiple initiatives, platforms and partnerships and pledges. For instance, the UNEP, ILO and UNICEF-led Green Jobs for Youth Pact, or the Data-Driven Environmental Solutions Hub. And it's also had and contributed to many outcomes at the national level in terms of designing and implementing national and sectoral strategies, including on NDCs and NBSAPs and SDG strategies or green and blue economy and recovery strategies. And has also, many of the findings have made their way into the messages by countries into climate action, messages on energy, messages on inclusive and just transition, for instance. So it's a proud moment. I think the report is a rich reflection of the diverse voices, perspectives across various geographic, socio-economic and cultural contexts. And it's also accompanied by a data dashboard, a national consultation dashboard, which is in this interactive gateway that allows you to look at and deep dive into country-specific reports. So let me welcome you all today. I think it's an opportunity for us to celebrate these voices, the outcomes, and also seize the opportunity to advance on many of the goals we have collectively set ourselves towards a shared vision for a green and prosperous future. So thank you again and welcome, and we look forward to a very constructive discussion later. Thank you.
Thank you, Srilata. And I think now we are ready to listen to our video. Okay, thank you. Thank you again, Srilata, for this amazing introduction. And now I want to pass the floor to our distinguished panelists. And our first question would be related to the key findings and recommendations that you found out from the Stockholm Plus 50 national consultations, the things that you learned, and that are relevant to what's happening at COP27 related to climate action and climate implementation. And with this question, first of all, I want to ask Ms. Paula from, no? from Angola. She's from the Ministry of Environment, from Climate Action and Sustainability Department. And please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if it's because it starts with the A, but it's always a privilege. But allow me also to thank UNDP for the all help and the coordination that we had in the process, even identifying what could be the need and the type of awareness that we may need to reflect firstly on the 50 years of Stockholm, and then there was the high-level commitment that we got from the country that we realized that if the high desk of the president is not involved, according to many different challenges, mostly cultural, because we are very agriculture-based, things could not have been working in the country. On the other hand is that we have projects, and this is a movement that is mostly driven by civil society, and we find that there is also a need for green financial and more easy way of them to access through the programs and the projects of the country. There is also a need that we should look at the involvement of communities, not just by we as government saying them that this is something that needs to be done, but involving them by the chief leaders, that they would help us and talk on their languages, and they also helped on translation. So there was also a need to empower and give capacity building through the pesticides and harmful chemicals, so that through under a program of environmental education. One of the biggest recommendations is the decentralization of the activities. This cannot only be done through government officials, but we should look at our third sector, which is the private sector, and the NGOs, that and we together we could work on the 18 provinces that we have, and we also amount the challenges that we may have now. It became a program at national level. On this point, my last recommendation would be that UNDP in country should not only look at the survey for 50 plus, but let us go throughout the new 50 opportunities that we have also to engage with the government. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would ask the same question to the distinguished representative from China, Professor Wang Mo, from Chinese Academy of Social Sciences.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. And I think this is a very good talk and discussion about the influence of the Stockholm Plus 2050, the influence for the COP. And I think it is, if we trying to connect it to the process, that would be very much similar. You can see from COP, we have four major pillars. One is mitigation, one is adaptation, and one is finance, and one is technology. You can see there's a lot of component for COP, for the climate change regime that has been fully reflected into the Stockholm plus 50 declaration or recommendations. For example, for mitigation, I think that is enhanced environment governance. So if we ask countries to put forward their mitigation target, that is some kind of implementation of this kind of recommendation, right? We ask more and more countries to put forward their mitigation actions and mitigation targets. And also, I think for mitigation part, we can find another key component, which is just transition. Just transition, I just want to mention it should be one part of mitigation under the UNFC negotiation. It's under topic of response measure. And for just transition, for countries right now are development some kind of just transition mechanism under the UNFCCC, so that is very much helpful. So this is also mentioned in the recommendation, all right? And I think for finance issues, that is very much important issue and a very key issue for environment agreements. I think you can see for this COP, we have 5 additional new agenda issue for negotiation, for negotiators, but 4 of them very closely related with the finance issue. So you can see finance is very much important. This is also highlighted in the recommendations. So I think this is they can do this together with from the push from the financing work from UNFCCC, as well as from the Stockholm Plus 50. These 2 initiatives can jointly push this forward. As we know that finance is very much important, and it contains 2 major components. One is private finance, one is the public finance. And I think recently we have on one hand, we should urge that countries, more and more countries, especially developed countries, takes the lead to contribute more money and ambitious targets for money for this process, not only for climate change issue, but also for a broader environment issue. And also we encourage that private sectors moving more resources for financing climate actions, financing SDG actions. So I think we can do this simultaneously. This is from, and also I found that in the declaration, in the recommendation also included some components of a technology issue. I think technology is a very much important issue, and also for COP for COP negotiation, we also have the technology issue. And I hope that different process, including Stockholm process, including the COP process, we can jointly to push this technology issue moving forward. And we really hope that climate-friendly technologies could be in one day that freely distributed to all the countries, developing countries, but no barriers for technology transfer. I just stop here. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to hear that the recommendations that you received from Stockholm Stockholm Plus 50 feed into the consultations that are happening today at COP27. And now I want to pass with the same question to our panelist from Cuba, Dr. Sorry. Dr. Orlando Ray
Yes.
from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Environment. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thanks to UNDP for the invitation. On finding and recommendation coming from Stockholm, I just want to mention one. Through the Stockholm process, we learned that we can accelerate. What that means, at the moment of Stockholm, we were discussing at the national level many of the issues which are into the Stockholm process. So we were talking at the national level on green jobs, just transition, the greening of the economy, social responsibility. So these issues are not new for us. But when in Stockholm, we were just discussing at the national level and thinking how to disseminate, how to engage the whole society on those issues. And we were on the thinking wrongly that people were maybe not prepared for that, and we need a longest period for preparation. But because of Stockholm, we learned that people are ready to move faster on introducing all this category. So now we are working on a more solid basis on local activities, on engaging different actors, including private sectors in our processes. Using this category now, you can read in a local newspaper or everywhere about green jobs, about just transition, about the greening as a common wording, which is entering very strong in all the aspects of the social and economic life. So in my view, that's the main learning of the Stockholm for my country. And thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've heard about the importance of finance, just transition, involvement of private sector, and the fact that the local communities are actually ready to move forward. And now we want to learn more about the experience of Philippines. Please, Mr. Albert Altarejos from Climate Change Service Department.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Anyway, pleasant afternoon to all of us. Okay, it's a privilege for the Philippines to be part of this panel, and we're proud to also share the findings and key recommendations of the Stockholm plus 50 national consultations that we had. So, as you may know that the Philippines is really particular on multi-sectoral participation. That's why we have conducted several national consultations, and we were able to solicit rich and various insights from stakeholders coming from different sectors. So in a nutshell, I have listed here the top recommendations that were raised by the stakeholders. First is to institutionalize the mechanisms and platforms of multi-sectoral participation in planning, implementation, and monitoring. So in connection to this mechanism, or which we have to institutionalize, is that we have to strengthen the system to track progress on targets, and also strengthen accountability on the results. So this would include the regularization of all these undertakings, like for example, aligning the budget and the expenditure tagging process for government programs, because we really have to ensure that there is accountability on the process. And also, in the course of having this multi-sectoral consultation, we were able to identify financing sources, because some stakeholders have raised the issue on finance. So the consultation has leveraged us to financing resources especially from international development agencies, as they have shared their ongoing projects working with development partners, and also some technical assistance from local development partners as well, in order to pilot interventions and show proof of concept as a means of spurring private financing in the succeeding phases. As regards to business sector as one of the stakeholders that have participated in the consultation, we were able to capture the business benefits of sustainability, and we were able to provide capacity building to the private sector in a way. Like for example, the the small and medium enterprises on embedding sustainability in their business operations and value chains. And we envisioned that the COP27 would ensure that no country or group is left behind. That's why we have really focused on this multi-sectoral approach, wherein we have this, the state, what you call this, I provide you really have to engage them in all of the society kind of approach. So this would resonate also with the institutionalization of multi-sectoral participation. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very important insights. And now I would like to pass the floor to Ms. Penelope from Trinidad and Tobago. She's from the Ministry of Planning and Development to share their experiences from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you everyone, especially to UNDP for this opportunity. So let me just say that for Trinidad and Tobago, we embraced a multi-stakeholder approach as the basis for the Stockholm +50 consultation. We're a small country, just 1.3 million people, but we held 6 stakeholder sessions, and that involved youth groups, women's group, indigenous people, the trade union, UN agencies, as well as the private sector. And the stakeholder, they highlighted their concerns, which included nature, climate, energy, socioeconomic development, and of course, cross-cutting linkages among them. Just to share with you some of the findings from the stakeholder consultation: lack of financial resources and updated technology, need for capacity building and behavioral change for sustainable development, lack of coordination and dialogue among stakeholders, insufficient enforcement of environmental laws, issues of food security, some of the siloed approaches to environmental action, the vulnerability of marginal groups to climate change, and the lack of inclusivity of vulnerable groups in decisions. What have we seen in terms of opportunities and recommendations to convert the economy to a greener and less fossil fuel dependent one, to promote sustainable agriculture and tourism through incentives and assistance to vulnerable groups, to facilitate greater involvement of youth, women, civil society organizations, and vulnerable groups, to communicate with stakeholders using different strategies to inform and increase awareness on environmental issues, to establish a centralized green knowledge and project exchange mechanism, especially in the issue of data sharing, which is one of the concerns, and immediate retraining of those affected by the transition to a green economy. Just finally, in terms of follow-up and continued action, we then held a national consultation in preparation for this COP, in which stakeholders expressed their own concerns in terms of the whole issue of financing for loss and damage, especially as it relates to small island developing states. That consultation then served as a platform to discuss the implementation of the Just Transition Policy. That policy is presently before Cabinet. The stakeholders emphasize again the need for true inclusive transition that provides support for those who might be negatively affected by high to low carbon transition for our energy-based economy. Our national action aligned with the Stockholm +50 themes are to update our national climate change policy, and another consultation that is going to be held to inform COP15. And finally, Trinidad and Tobago continues to be committed to policies, framework, collaboration, and action on both national and international level to address the challenges highlighting during Stockholm +50 consultation by supporting long-term sustainable and equitable development and just transition pathways to a low-carbon, circular, nature-positive, and resilient economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive list of items that are very vital for people from Trinidad and Tobago and also very relevant to today's discussion at COP27. Now I want to pass the floor to Ms. Lucia Cuozzi from Uruguay. I think her was not written correctly, so she will present herself. I think.
Yes, I'm from the climate change direction of Uruguay. I have a presentation. Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm here on behalf of the team that worked on the national consultation in Uruguay to share some of the work. Next, please. To start, I would like to show you something from the context of Uruguay. We were a small country in South America of almost 3.5 million of people. Next. And the national consultation was from April to May. It started with a lunch event open to all public, continued with the online consultation, and with 3 dialogues on specific topics. These were youth, natural grassland, and women. Next. Some numbers of the consultation. We had a total participation of 614 people. Next. And some of the challenges discussed in the online consultation were, for example, improve the conservation of nature, change our lifestyle to create a healthy planet, ensure an inclusive and sustainable recovery from the pandemic, accelerate progress toward a healthy planet and prosperity for all, safeguard future generations, identify the biggest challenge to take action towards a healthy planet. Next. And I would like to highlight some collect opportunities, such as the fact that 82% of the population of Uruguay think that Uruguay is capable of taking bold action to ensure a healthy planet. Next. And these findings represent a great opportunity to achieve a more sustainable country. And continue with the solution and recommendations. We find improve education and awareness, engage and empower the community in decision making, promote the protection, restoration and conservation of nature, encourage more sustainable productive systems, implement social policies, support an inclusion program, further research on sustainable development, and next. Promote responsible consumption, improve waste management, promote gender equality, improve environmental laws and regulation, improve environmental institutions. And to finish, I have a short video, but I think that we don't have time.
If it's a short video.
It's a short video, but I don't know if we have time.
Yes.
Okay. You have the video?
Conmemora los 50 años de la Conferencia de las Naciones Unidas sobre el Medio Humano de 1972, que colocó los problemas ambientales como un asunto global urgente. En Uruguay somos parte de Estocolmo más 50 y tenemos la oportunidad de hacer oír nuestras voces y aportar nuestra mirada sobre el desarrollo sostenible, con alternativas locales para combatir problemas globales.
En la consulta nacional buscamos escuchar la mayor cantidad de voces para seguir construyendo juntas y juntos un futuro sostenible sin dejar a nadie atrás.
Uruguay dialogó. Jóvenes, líderes y pequeñas comunidades plantearon sus inquietudes para juntos reflexionar y plantear propuestas para construir un futuro mejor.
Esta consulta nos ayuda a avanzar en el camino que venimos transitando de consolidarnos como un país productor sostenible de alimentos.
En Uruguay queremos un planeta sano para la prosperidad de todas las personas. Que nuestra voz se escuche en Estocolmo más 50.
Lleven nuestra voz a Estocolmo 50.
Quiero que mi voz sea escuchada en Estocolmo 50.
Lleven nuestra voz a Estocolmo más 50.
Que mi voz se escuche en Estocolmo 50. Que mi voz se escuche en Estocolmo más 50.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucia, and thank you for sharing this amazing video. And now I would like to ask our panelist from Kazakhstan, Ms. Shatik Tastamirova, who is from the Ministry of Ecology, Geology and Natural Resources, to share her experiences from Kazakhstan.
Thank you. May I ask to open my... hello, everyone. On behalf of the Ministry of Ecology, Geology and Natural Resources of the Republic of Kazakhstan, I welcome all participants of this event. And I want to share with results of national consultations, which was done with UNDP's support in our country. And first of all, next slide, please. In close cooperation with the central and subnational governments, the national consultation in Kazakhstan were organized in all major administrative centers in our country in hybrid format. In Atrau, Kızıldağ, Pavlodar, and Astana, it is done in person, and other administrative we covered online. So during our consultations, we covered more than 1,800 people to get input of a wide range of stakeholders, including youth, women, people with disabilities, universities, research institutes in our country. With support of UNDP, representatives of our ministry attended the big conference, Stockholm +50. In particular, Vice Minister of our ministry, Zulfia Süleymanova, in her speech assured of commitment of Kazakhstan to support sustainable goals and other trending directions such as green economy, that we support all aims of all these aims, and about and also she spoke about state environmental policy. And the final expert consultation in Astana were held on 18th of May, with participation local governments, ministries, NGOs, civil society organizations, international finance institutions. As a Stockholm +50 follow-up, the results of consultation were disseminated among our stakeholders and presented during local youth conference in September and regional conference in October in Astana. In Kazakhstan, the Central Asian youth used to present result of recommendation in their statement to a global COI conference during COP27. In addition, the Stockholm +50 global survey was adopted and translated into local language for wide dissemination during the national consultations, as well as among the general public, inviting their voices and recommendations. As a result, more than 500 people responded, participated, and we received their responses, and including marginalized groups of population. As I remember, 64% of them was female and 34% male. And the most active participants was from Astana and Almaty cities. It's the capital and one of the big cities of our country. And according to the survey results, and this is also confirmed during offline consultations, most of respondents believe that the national government is responsible for environmental protection. Next slide shows the stakeholders think that in Kazakhstan, recycling, waste management, healthcare, education, and renewables are the most important sectors of which require urgent investment, whereas the biggest obstacles, in their opinion, is the fossil fuel dependence, social indifference, and the lack of environmental awareness. As of stakeholders' willingness to change their lifestyle towards to better future, most of them said they are already on the way to for healthier planet. And last but not least, half of respondents believe that the world can achieve the goal of halving fossil fuels, and 93% of them believe that the world is ready to urgent action to protect the planet. And in the conclusion, I want to say that Kazakhstan is ready for multilateral cooperation with different organizations, financial institutions. So thank you for attention.
Thank you very much. Now I wanted to ask a representative from Kenya, as Kenya was the co-host of Stockholm +50 national consultations, if he would like to summarize the first part of our panel discussions and also share experiences from Kenya.
Thank you so much, UNDP, for convening this conversation. And well, much as I'll also give perspectives from Kenya, I'll a bit speak to the youth engagement to the Stockholm +50 process. I sit in the Global Steering Committee of the UNEP Youth Constituency, and we had the mandate of like coming up with a youth engagement framework to the Stockholm +50 process. We actually like launched the Stockholm +50 Youth Task Force last year in Glasgow during COP26, and we managed to bring to that launch the former Minister of Environment and Climate from Sweden, the executive, ED of UNEP, and so many young people from across the world. And I can say we managed to ensure that we consulted as many young people as possible globally, leading up to the international meeting itself. Had a big youth environment assembly in Nairobi on the sidelines of UNEA. That gave us, like a background to come up with a global youth policy paper, Stockholm +50 youth policy paper. And that, like revolved around the three thematic areas of the international meeting. Of course, addressing issues to do with the recovery from COVID pandemic, addressing the environmental agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals, and as well as the actions that are urgently needed for us to leapfrog and achieve a climate resilient future. So fast forward, we had also a one-day preparatory meeting in New York, where young people, my colleague here from Colombia, Felipe, also like represented us there together with some few young people from across the world. And then we took the same model of Sweden and Kenya co-hosting the international meeting to have also youth constituents in Kenya and LSU National Youth Council from Sweden co-hosting a youth assembly in Stockholm before the international meeting itself. And just to talk a little about youth representation, or rather participation in the international meeting, I think youth were the majority in that meeting. Actually, like 51% of the participants in Stockholm +50 international meeting were young people. And that wasn't just like representation, but it was meaningful youth engagement, where young people pushed this global policy paper to world leaders and had so many bilaterals, ensure that in the plenary rooms we drafted so many statements there. And we are glad today to say that some of the demands that were enshrined in that policy paper have already been adopted by United Nations General Assembly right now. But like we are talking about, already UN Youth Office has been created. It was part of our demands. We have the right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. It has been adopted by UNGA. And right now we are seeing a lot of progress. Now, talking about what we are doing in the context of Kenya, I think UNDP has really been supportive. We've done 2 post-Stockholm consultations, with the support of UNDP. They convene these meetings with the government, and bringing together it is a multi-stakeholder approach where everyone basically is there. So many people who have been underrepresented in the past, people who are doing quite an amazing work on the grassroots. I mean, some people suffering a lot from the front lines of climate crisis and all that have really been represented in these post-Stockholm consultations. The first one we talked about, we had keen focus on solid waste management and the opportunities that are coming out of that. Of course, being guided by the 10-point outcome from Stockholm. I actually look at it and then I say it's 9 because the 10th one is about taking forward these outcomes to the other international processes, including this COP27. And now that Stockholm gave us an opportunity to talk about environmental issues in unison, like we were not like talking about climate, biodiversity. I mean, all these things were addressed in Stockholm, and that gave us a very important opportunity. We've tried domesticating that in Kenya, talking about the opportunities in solid waste management and how young people especially can really do a lot in that to create jobs and create like opportunities for their communities. And then the second one was focusing on forestry. Currently in Kenya, we have a very ambitious plan of like growing 15 billion trees in the next decade now, like in 10 years. That's a lot, but I mean, this is an ambition that can be put to action. And with the leadership, of course, of UNDP, we are seeing this can work in Kenya with their collaboration with the ministry. And right now we are seeing a huge potential, especially with the base of young people. Right now in Kenya, the average age of a Kenyan is 20 years. The average age of an African is 19. You know, so this is basically everybody. So if youth get to be sidelined and pushed to the margins, then we are not making any progress. That's why I'm really liking how Stockholm Plus 50 has given us an opportunity to push forward youth inclusion in multilateral spaces. And in Kenya, we also had, from the youth perspective now, like recommendations coming from Stockholm. We had a consultation informing, you know, discussions of high-level advisory board on effective multilateralism. And I mean, also trying to talk about how we can put forward recommendations from Stockholm Plus 50 to the midterm review of SDGs next year and the summit of the future the year after. Because, you know, like if multilateral system, people have to get faith in it, then we need to ensure that we have everybody. And I think with a lot of bias here, I'll need to push youth inclusion because I just demonstrated how in the African context, it's everybody. And then just to finish, in Kenya, we're also trying to domesticate the best practices from Stockholm in terms of ensuring that we have a document that shows how young people from Kenya were engaged throughout the process that can be replicated in the other countries to show youth inclusion in multilateral spaces. And in Stockholm, we managed to meet with the president of Kenya then, ensure that we pushed forward youth positions from Kenya. And right here in COP27, we followed up with the current president because we had a transition now to another administration, like how best we can domesticate the outcomes of Stockholm with the base of young people. And we are already in talks with UNDP, and we are really getting a lot of support from that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Of course, youth perspective is of utmost importance, and at COP27 we are trying to hear the voices of the youth. There has been some discouraging arguments that their voices are not heard enough, but I'm happy that you are here at our panel to share your experiences and your attitude towards how Stockholm Plus 50 was coordinated and conducted. With this, I want to move to another question. Here, I mean, it's up to you who wants to answer and reply to this question. So we would like to know how Stockholm Plus 50 process and national consultations informed gender-sensitive and socially inclusive processes in your countries. And if one of the panelists would like to answer? Yes, Mr.
Thank you. On informing, three brief comments. The first, when we talk about the outcome of Stockholm, you have the national report, the final report that you provide to the international setting, but then you have all the national information, which is more broader because you have all the local reports, you have all the sectoral information, you have all the media, you have all the information on the Spark Blue and all the compilation of the virtual information. So you have maybe 200 pages of information to inform the national process. And this, in my country, all this information is now public and is part of the package of that is supporting all the national economic and social actions. In face of this COP27, where we are discussing here on my delegation about improving governance or about reforming the financial system, is coming in fact from the Stockholm debate at the national level. And of course, we also informed the COP15 on biodiversity. And for the future process, the Stockholm is already one of the elements that we are taking for the second voluntary national report on the SDG, and will also be part of the information we will use for the first biennial transparency report under the convention. So for us it's clear the value of that information. I mean not only the national external report, but all the information compiled at the national level, and we attribute a great importance to all this package of information.
Thank you very much. Would other countries like to comment?
Maybe I say something a little about that question. I think in our consultations in the context of Kenya, there was a question of like donors, or rather enablers of people to deliver action on the ground. This, I mean, donors' priorities to mirror the urgent need for action, and I think that was quite progressive. Another thing is to ensure that everybody is on board. We don't need to like be wearing this, diplomatic suits, sitting in international spaces when we don't connect with the ground where action happen. And I would also want to comment on like ensuring that we really domesticate things that happen on international level. If they can really be put to a national context, that would really be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Paula?
Yeah, just a quick one maybe to add from my colleagues is that it was a very good learning process because it was very inclusive in the country, and it also gave a mandate to create a national directorate for environmental education and its own strategy. That it was a cross-cutting and is also now being more empowering. And for the first time, we could have a national type of a workshop that we call including an expo for civil society and responsibility of private sector pertaining to the environment. And we came across that there's a lot of initiatives, but they would not know how to gazette those. And this process also helped a lot according to all the relative issues and the development plan of the country to be addressed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wang?
Yeah, thank you. I think for China, we learn quite a lot from this process. First of all, for this national consultation, they're caring about different age group or different people, gender issue and vulnerable people. I think this is a very good way for the local government to thinking about how to dealing with different age people in their development plans. And I think we are addressing the issue for climate change as well as biodiversity, as well as pollutant abatement. I think this is a holistic way. In China we are pushing very much hard for a concept of ecological civilization. They have very good linkage together. And I think if we do Stockholm plus 20 very good for implementation of the recommendations, that will be very much helpful to help domestically to pushing that concept ecological civilization moving forward to considering everything holistic way, and also to take caring about every age group, take caring about gender issue, and also for children, also social environment awareness raising, which is quite related to education. So I think we get benefit quite a lot from this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there is any other country that want to comment?
Well, just very quickly, that I made reference that in several of the consultations, the issue of gender and inclusion, an equitable distribution came up several times. So in terms of the opportunity, it means that in terms of our various policies, it allowed then for the inclusion of gender mainstreaming in a lot of the policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Yes, thank you, colleagues. If I may add also on how the process has informed the design and implementation of gender-responsive national and sectoral policies such as our NDCs, our national development plans. So, one thing that is one major result is of the national consultation is that we were able to this has helped us in preparing the country's voluntary national review through the identification of challenges and lessons learned in relation to the environmental dimension of the SDGs. So, of course, if we would be able to identify or focus on the 3 dimensions of the SDGs, this would give us this would provide us on how the means of accelerating the implementation of the sustainable agenda by 2030. In addition to this, the report has also provided a multi-sectoral perspective, as I've emphasized a while ago, a multi-sectoral perspective that would inform the formulation of the Philippine Development Plan, which is in the process of being updated right now. So this has the results of the national consultation has also provided additional inputs to the updating of the National Development Plan as regards to the priorities and actions for the environment in the next 6 years, because the plan will cover the 6-year timeline. And then lastly, the results of the national consultations have also informed the planning and design of current initiatives that would realize the commitments made in Stockholm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I may turn to the audience if the floor is open for discussion. So if you want to have any questions, yes, please raise your hand and present yourself, and then place the question.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Agripina Jenkins. I'm from Costa Rica. And I just wanted to highlight and to know exactly how intersectionality was involved in the Stockholm Plus 30 consultations, because that was one thing back home in Costa Rica that we did. So I would like to know if that was the case for the countries, or if that intersectionality will be for a new stage.
Thank you very much. Who would like to answer? Ms. Paula? Or, yeah?
The answer is yes. It's something that for many years we are all addressing, especially under the environmental sector, that more and more this is the story where we say don't leave anyone behind. The multi-sectorial, it helps, especially when it comes to the SDGs, and also to approach and engage the whole strategies within a country, so that the bottom line will be the three dimensions that, despite the rationale or the reality for each country it has. So that will be the special basis for in case of Angola in particular.
Thank you. Would any of the other countries want to comment?
Agree.
Okay, you all agree. Okay, we have another question from there.
It's actually an announcement from Mexico.
Hi, my name is Adriana Bustamante. I'm a member of the parliament in Mexico, and only want to share with us, with you, I propose an initiative which has already been presented and processing accordance or legislative process, which has the objective to incorporate climate action and risk management as elements that constitute a matter of public interest that put the proper fulfillment of human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. And therefore, their attention must remain embodied in one of the guiding principles of the national planning. In this way, will be incorporate a demand of Mexican and international society to advance together for implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have another question.
Hello everyone, I'm Felipe. I'm from Colombia and I'm a member of the Stockholm Plus 50 Youth Task Force. And a message that I wanted to portray from the task force is that we were really excited to work with the UNDP in the consultation process. We created some youth recommendations, youth engagement recommendations that were sent to country offices, and we've seen the results. In some of them were more successful in youth engagement, others not so much. So I want to use this space to encourage you to really co-create processes with the youth in order for them to be much more successful, to have children and youth involved in the whole process from the beginning. So thank you very much, UNDP, and thank you.
Thank you very much. If you would like to comment, or if there is any other question from the floor, then we still have two videos to show. One is from Pradap Gurugulasaria. He's the Director of Nature, Climate and Energy at UNDP. He would really like to address you. Unfortunately, there was a glitch in the beginning, so we couldn't show the video, but now, as I believe it is ready, so we can hear his introductory video, and then another video from the youth.
It's a pleasure to help open this important side event today. This year, the United Nations Development Programme, together with UNEP and co-hosts Sweden and Kenya, partnered to deliver the Stockholm Plus 50 conference. Now, this conference marked 50 years since the first Stockholm Conference on the Environment, where 113 countries adopted the Stockholm Declaration and Action Plan for the human environment. Now, this placed environmental issues at the forefront of international concerns. Much has been achieved since then, over these past 50 years. For example, closing the hole in the ozone layer. But we face serious challenges ahead. 160 events that UNDP helped organize and about 50,000 participants took part. Now from Angola to Zimbabwe, from Chile to China, Uzbekistan to Vietnam, the goal was to maximize opportunities for national level conversations, to obtain diverse inputs on how we can optimize on our efforts to avoid the crises that we face that's at a planetary scale. Now we have a collective responsibility to protect the environment so that humanity can enjoy peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. I just came back from visiting Djibouti about 2 weeks ago. Now, that's in an area that is experiencing devastating droughts right now, especially in places like Somalia. But what I learned from that trip was that investments in Djibouti to better plan for and manage periods of water scarcity, whether they be at the community level or larger scale, are working. Now, interventions like these cannot be as successful or scalable without national level consultation to understand the country's needs and opportunities to realize the fullest potential and most effective results, whether it be in the country itself, such as in Djibouti, or beyond. So this extraordinary effort to conduct one of the largest mass consultations ever undertaken is significant. These consultations strive for diverse participation, with men and women equally represented. Now, 45% of participants were under 30 years old, ensuring that youth was an important voice in that conversation. Findings have been invaluable to anyone contributing to decisions that impact how we address these global challenges. So it is my pleasure to open what I'm sure will be a rich discussion to hear some of those insights that we were privileged to hear during the consultations themselves. I welcome you to explore the report and the database of stakeholder contributions that illuminate the country and regional context, including many exciting new ideas and innovations. I know that this understanding is so critical to achieving what we are all seeking for, the possibility of a thriving future on a healthy planet. Thank you.
And our final video, if we can show. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear panelists, for being here. Thanks to the audience for being here and active. With this, I would like to close our event. It's really impressive how the national consultations actually consolidated the action at national level. And let's hope that this national level consolidation also reflects on the international level on the outcomes of COP27. thank you again for being here, and yeah, good luck.